Hello, Season 2 has begun. Maybe you're new, maybe you're returning, but here's some tips on how to level up very quickly, whether you're new or returning player, so that you can get into the action. Alright, so it'll start off sending you in a random place somewhere in the starting zone, flying on a bird, just trying to aim for a city, trying to get closer to a city as you can. Right, once you land, look around for some copper and some wood. This will get us the fastest start possible. The game does start us off with, oh, and watch out for the snapping turtles. The game does start us off with a really bad wrench and a terrible pistol. And if you can find stone, you can use the stone to get the gravel. What we're needing is wood and gravel. And if you can't find stone, you can always hit copper to get your gravel. You might even be able to hit sulfur to get gravel. Yeah, you can gravel off the sulfur as well. So whatever is around, that'll get you gravel. Alright, you'll need a decent amount of gravel for what we're going to be doing, and a little bit of wood. Alright, and once you've gathered some of that, hit T on the keyboard, and it'll bring up a tent. Alright, and then place your tent. Go up and to the workbench on the tent and craft with bare hands. Once you're in crafting, you have item crafting, weapon crafting, and armor crafting. Alright, for here, we're going to make a crude pickaxe. Right, it's going to take wood and gravel, so 5 and 10. And then switch over to weapons. And see if you have what it takes to make crossbows. You see we don't just yet, but that's okay. So we're making the crude pickaxe for. So we'll take the crude pickaxe, put it on our hotbar. Alright, it automatically does it, but if it didn't, put it on your hotbar, and then you can go get some more wood. You're going to need wood and gravel. Alright, so once you have about 125 wood and 100 gravel, we can come back. As you can see, I have 283 wood and like 100 and something gravel. Did that, and we're only been on this for 5 minutes. Alright, so now we're going to have our first crossbow. Now, if this is your first time playing through, it may have put you in the tutorial. I'm not sure if it does that for Season 2 or not. It didn't put me in the tutorial, but I've already done it, so maybe that's why. Anyway, so you may already have a crossbow and arrows, in which case, hey, you're already ahead. And while you're waiting on the arrows to make, you might as well farm up some more gravel or copper if it's nearby, something like that. You're going to need copper. You won't be able to gather tin just yet, but we will be able to do that. Just don't get too much weight in your inventory. So, like, I know it started with a pistol and a melee weapon, but these things don't hardly kill even deer. It takes like 4 or 5 shots sometimes to kill deer with the pistol. It's really not worth doing. But you should have started with a butterfly and your backpack, right? So make sure you take advantage of your deviation while you're running around. Alright, arrows are done. We got 65. That's enough to get started. It's not super important to have a ton of them. They're just very useful. You can pick them back up as you use them. Alright, and then you need to head into the nearest town. Now, personally, I like this town, the Dayton Hospital town, because of how big it is. And there's usually, for some reason, not that many players in here when you're starting out. I don't know which town they're hanging out in, but anyway, a reason I like this town is because of this size. Because I can do a full loop around this town, and by the time I finish the loop and get back to the other side, everything's respawning. One of the great things about the Dayton Hospital town is that it has a hospital in it, which means it's going to have a lot of med kits for you to go and get activators from. And activators are super important. So when you're looping this town, you want to search through everything. You want to grab all of the loot and resources you can. They're going to be important later. And while you're going through the town, you want to be killing the zombies. Alright, if you can, sneak up on the zombies and assassinate them. At least 10 of them, right? And we'll show you. Let me show you why. So this is a recreation of what I did when I jumped on the server to get leveled up pretty quickly. So we'll go into Season Goes, hit Escape, go up to Manibus, go to Season Goes, go to a Mist and Mirage, right? And then here you can see you have different challenges. You want to be completing these challenges as you go. So just kind of keep these in the back of your mind. It's only important to complete them all up to 3 stars. After that, the rest of it's up to you. They're just for marks. So you can see, use backstab to eliminate 10 enemies. So if you can do this, that's a pretty easy one to do. Use a crossbow to deal 5 headshot crit damage. We made the crossbow. We're going to be doing that really fast. Use a melee weapon to defeat 200 enemies. So once we've got this and this done, we'll switch to our melee weapon basically until it breaks, or we find another one until we've completed this one as well. And we'll immediately knock out 3 challenges. And the reason for this is if you're looking to level as fast as possible, we need to get as many meme points as possible. You see, we get an extra 30 meme points for completing these, and these are all really easy to complete. There's also a journey tab, but I won't worry about that tab too much. You'll be completing those pretty quickly. As you just do stuff, it'll complete, and then you can go in there and claim those later. So we would assassinate 10 of these guys, right, as we're moving around the town. Good news is we're going to be collecting acid and things like that. That's going to be important all throughout the game. And if we're assassinating enemies, we're also not getting hurt. All right, now I'll show you something. And these guys are level 7, and I'm too high level to get very much experience off of them. As you level up, the amount of experience you get decreases, so I got 5 for that. But when I was here, level like 2, I was getting a bunch of oh, that one just appeared. I think you were getting like 12 to 14 XP off of each of these kills. So you can see you can level up pretty quick off of that. So as you come through the town collecting supplies, getting what you need, and killing the zombies, you'll be leveling up. Right? Killing is one of the fastest ways in the game to level. Find a decent sized city where you can loop it, and as you finish the loop, stuff is coming back. That way you can that way you can pretty much non-stop kill and level up. But we'll also be showing you some other methods for leveling that you'd want to do in combination. This is just the start. Trying to level up as fast as possible is about being efficient. So we're not going to be running around doing quests. I know this quest would give me 390 experience points if I did it. But if I kill like 35 enemies, I'll also get that much experience points. So if I go do this quest and it somehow takes me over to here, then back to here, then over to here, and then back, I've lost all that time traveling. So the important thing here is to spend as little time traveling as possible. And this is Season 2. Why haven't I mentioned transferring items over yet? Wouldn't that help speed level? Yes and no. Alright, going through the whole transferring process and all that was actually going to slow you down on getting a start. You're going to be thinking about it, looking at it, spending a lot of time trying to decide where to spend your points. Now, this isn't a video about the point system and all that. I'm just going to say real quick, I wouldn't bother spending points until you know exactly what you're going to need and what you feel like is going to be too hard to get, what might help you speed along faster. But I wouldn't worry about it in the beginning. And if you want to get a good idea of how much everything costs to bring over, I have made a video about that. You can check it out. It should be linked above. I also have a video of the different types of servers if you're interested in that. And if you haven't transferred yet, you might want to check out my preparing to transfer video as well. Oh, and of course, while you're in the town, be looking for the weapon crates, the mystical crates, closing the rift anchor to get your stardust, things like that. If you do all of that, if you get every single, if you find all the loot crates, you close this rift up, and then you find the mystical crate, you're going to get a bunch of extra experience points. So that'll help you level pretty quickly too. There are quests here at the Dayton Hospital area that you can do while you're running around here. And I do recommend taking quests because it doesn't hurt to go ahead and get a few extra experience points off the quest. I just don't recommend go-foring, right? Going from one place to another, back and back. What we do is do as much of the quest as you can until it tells you to leave it to a new area, and then just hang on to that quest until you're in the new area and complete it like that, being efficient with the way you're handling quests. Alright, so you've looped the Dayton Hospital area, you've collected all the resources you can get your hands on from here, you've done some quests here, you're probably close to level 10 by now, your weapons are getting close to broken, or they are broken. So now what? Where do we go from here? How do we handle this? All right, well, now we need to make our motorcycle. We need to make our weapons. We need to make our base, right? So what we're going to do now is we're going to take care of all of that. So we're going to head over to a spot. You pick whatever place you prefer. All right. I prefer dropping my base around in here. Right, this area here, because there's a bunch of tin, right, and copper and deer. Right, you have deer all along here. You also have alligator snapping turtles, so you might want to put your base a little bit back and just kind of walk. But you can put your base anywhere, right? We can even drop our base here and just run over here and then teleport back to our base once we've gotten as much as we want. All right, but you're going to be able to find tin, a decent amount of tin in here. There's a little bit of tin right here up at my camp. And then there's all kinds of copper and deer all through up here. So you're going to be killing deer. Okay, we're going to be killing deer, collecting copper and the tin as we go. We're going to need all that for crafting our base. All right, the deer is going to give you the hide you're going to need for crafting your armor. The meat's going to give you food you need, to cook and eat. And if you have a lot left over, you can sell it for energy links. So that's pretty nice too. All right, so you have your first couple of blocks down. You have a small little base going, and you're gathering up your materials. What next? You need to go into remedics. All right, and we're going to take a few things. We're going to take disabling techniques, smelting essentials, copper pickaxes, essential tools, gear workbench, ammunition. These are going to be the first things you want to focus on. Right, and then once you have your disassembly bench down, you'll throw all the stuff you looted in here, disassemble it. And I know those of you that played the game already know that's what the disassembly bench is, but there's going to be some watching this that haven't ever played before. So we're going over as much detail as we can. So we'll go once we have our gear bench down, we'll go in here. We can craft our blueprints. If you've played before, you're obviously going to have some more blueprints than someone who hasn't. So if you like shrapnel, you probably have your shrapnel gun, right? And you come in here and you would just make it, right? You make your tier 1 right away, right? We'll create this. All the parts are super easy to make, super easy to get. You should have all those after doing the Dayton Hospital. So you make your 2 weapons that you prefer. It doesn't matter what they are. It's the ones you prefer. So for instance, I would make the Stranger and the Bullseye BP gun here, right? And then, of course, then we would also go to the intermediate supplies workbench and make the ammo for it. Right, so you're gonna also want to put a smelter down, which we told you to grab the memetics. Right, your smelter is gonna look like this. You're gonna need wood to make charcoal, and then charcoal to make everything else that you're gonna be making in here. Right, we're not gonna spend. You don't want to spend too much time crafting and building. You just want to get down exactly what you need to make a little bit of gear and move along. Right, now here comes the part about transferring. Spacetime backpack transfer. So if you're wanting to bring some deviations over for use, this is the time to bring something over, right? Bring a combat deviation over that you like. Just keep in mind, if you do decide to bring a combat deviation over, I mean, the butterfly is going to hold its own for a while. If you're like me and you decide to go ahead and spend the points and bring a combat deviation over, they don't do that much damage. So even though this one's like a tier 4 or 5 combat deviation, it doesn't do that much damage because my level wasn't high and my psi intensity wasn't high. Alright, so it's not doing that much damage. Now, if this isn't your first time playing, there are some items that are worth bringing over once you're ready to start farming iron. Alright, you're going to want to, you can bring over some canned seafood in oil. Right, that gives you 66 and 666 or 6,660% yield bonus for the final strike when mining or logging. This is amazing for getting a lot of extra materials. And if you bring over an advanced electric drill as well, you can get like 10,000 iron in just a couple of minutes in a little iron patch, right? And you'll still have a lot of drill left later for when you're ready to hit tungsten and all that without even having to make another electric drill. So that is where I would spend my points. Yeah, so as you can see, I did all of this in just a couple of minutes, maybe 10-15 minutes of farming with that drill and the canned seafood. And then what's in here as well, plus all the stuff I've already used. So as you can see, it is very, very useful. If you're a new player and you've never played before and you don't have these extra blueprints that the rest of us are going to have, what you will do is under memetics. So under crafting, after you take gear workbench, you would take basic gear. So you may not have the memetic points for it yet, so you may have to push a few more levels up or complete a few more of the missions there. But under basic gear, you will get decent enough guns to get you by. We have our next set of gear. Where do we go? So we'll head into the Broken Delta area, right? And hopefully you made your motorcycle by now as well, so you can ride your motorcycle and get there quickly. But remember, if you've set up near the Dayton Hospital, where we're going is not that far. We just cross the river, come up this hill, and we land in the Eastern Railway Junction. This area is really nice. It has a lot of zombies in it. It has several elites in it. Be careful with elites if you're not used to fighting them, right? Because you don't want to be dying. Dying is going to slow you down. So you may want to put your campsite out around near the Eastern Railway Junction, or you may also want to carry a few adrenaline shots on you. Right, so you'll just find a path that you like, right? Just do a loop. Doesn't matter which direction you start at or where you start. Just do a loop, kill everything in here, collect all the materials, and rinse and repeat that until you're about level 18. Right, once you hit level 18, you should be able to move up into the Iron River area. In the Iron River area, you're going to be able to get some loot that's going to let you craft tier 3 gear. So you're going to go over to the refinery pollution point. All right, and you'll do the loop in here as well and collect all the materials you can. If you can't get all the materials from here, you can always swing into the Highland area and get some of get some of the materials from there. Be very careful in here. There are a couple of really powerful deviations in here, and that you may not be ready for because you don't have your tier 3 gear yet. And get your supplies. All right, and then this is the time to pop. Once you're done getting your supplies, it's good to go find an iron patch, pop your canned seafood oil, get your mining drill out, do all that real fast. If you don't have those, and you've only been advancing to your, you've just been advancing your hand tools, that's fine, use those. But if you're hand collecting iron, you don't want to gather as much as I did. You just want to gather you'll just want to mostly gather what you need to make your workbenches and stuff. So you're going to want to make the intermediate tier so you can get the tier 3 gear, right? So your intermediate workbench is going to cost 25 steel ingots. So you'll need all the steel for that. Of course, you'll need to have gathered vanadium crystals, standard parts, refined parts. All that stuff is what you're going to be getting while you're out leveling in the cities. Right? Intermediate supplies workbench is much cheaper, pretty easy to get. Right, and then of course we're going to want to push up to an electric furnace because having to gather wood and make coal is slowing us down. So you want to avoid doing that as much as possible while you get to this. Right, and then of course you're going to have an electric furnace. You're also going to need power for it. So you're going to need to be collecting the supplies to make your solar generator. So there's 15 more steel ingots you're going to need. And once you push to the point where you can have a generator down, you're going to want to also make some stoves. Now, for speed purposes, I only made 3 stoves, 1 generator, and 1 electric furnace. All right, this gives me 1 watt of power left over. If you want to do more stoves than that, you can. So this is where the next part of leveling comes in, besides just running around and killing, right? We've only been talking about running around and killing so far, because out of everything you can do in the game, running around and killing is the most efficient way to get experience points. But there are other ways in combination with it that will allow you to really boost your level. Alright, so one of those is going to be, of course, smelting. So as you can see, if you smelt iron still, you get 178 experience points for a stack of it. We're going to start with 3 electric stoves and 1 electric furnace, and that will leave us with 1 watt of power left, alright? And 1 generator. This way we're not tearing through too many of our supplies, and we can use our supplies for better things, and so we're not out farming supplies instead of leveling. What we're going to do with these electric stoves, you've probably already guessed, but yeah, we're going to make salt. Now, gathering up salt water and then coming back and cooking it into salt is not efficient for leveling versus other methods of straight leveling, but it is a passive way of leveling. So what I like to do before I log off for the night is I will teleport to the ocean, get as much salt water as I can carry, bring it back and fill up the stoves, put the rest of it in a chest, all right, and then do it all up. Log out for the night. When I log in the morning, I pull all the salt out, gain some free experience points. All right, so what I like to do before I log off is teleport over to the ocean. All right, see, we're right next to the ocean, so I like that one. I can come in here, and I can just collect salt water. Okay, so we teleport to the spot that I showed you that I like, right? And look, it's right on the water. So all we gotta do is just step in here just a few feet, and we can collect water. All right, and now we're getting seawater. So I like to collect seawater. This is a fairly safe area. So I can just walk off, go brush my teeth, whatever I need to do to get ready for bed, come back. I'll be full up on salt water, right? So if gathering salt water and cooking it is taking time away from your actual leveling, going out and doing other methods of leveling that we're fixing to show you, then this is not worth it. It's not efficient. You have to like fill up your base with stoves to really make this super efficient. That's a lot of lost resources, a lot of time spent farming those resources. If you get a lot of salt water, you only have to do this like once every couple of days. And as you can see, we're up to 354 pounds. So if you didn't know, the only really limit to you is how much inventory space you have. Once each tab has its own amount of inventory space. Once you fill that space up, you won't be able to carry any more until you empty out some of those spaces. So that's the only limit on how much water you can collect. You can still move, albeit extremely slowly. Anyway, this is a good trick for no one farming water or metal or whatever. When you go out, you don't have to return to your base every time you're at your weight limit. You can just keep going over. Our speed is lower, you know, but it's not a big deal if we're just farming and we're not in danger. But as you can see, I can still move, and we can still fast travel back to base, at least for now. Oh, what? Did I get disconnected from the internet? Alright, so the internet went out while it's collecting seawater. So... Yeah, 1,000 pounds. I found the limit. 1,270% is the limit. All the water I collected after this apparently went on the ground. So we have a bag of junk here. I guess I just kept picking up water while I was offline. I don't know how long my character stayed online for, but yeah. So we found the limit, but we can still walk. Alright, I did not want to get that much once, but hey, we won't need seawater for a while, right? Alright, so let's open up our map, and I'll show you a trick though. Even though we're at 1,000% overweight, we can still teleport until they patch it anyway. So hopefully they never patch that though, because this is a nice quality of life feature. You can go out and you can just roll from rock to rock while farming until you can't carry anymore, right? And then you can teleport back to base. Okay, but by doing this, you're going to end up with a ton of salt in your base, right? What can you do with it after? I mean, you're not probably never going to cook with that much salt, right? So what do you do with this salt besides dehydrate meat if you really wanted to? If you're worried about decay timers, just check out my tips and tricks video where I go over infinite decay timers so you don't need to dehydrate meat. Alright, so what do you do with the salt? Well, you can bring it into a town and sell it. One salt is worth 1 energy link. Not a lot, but you can come in and sell your salt. Alright, so we can get 33 energy links from this 33 salt. Now, energy link, if something sells for energy link, it'll also sell for astral sand and about the same price. So you could, if you don't want the extra energy links, you could just go into this menu and come up to Eternal Land, go over to Manage Materials, Sell. And once you're in here, you can go to Sell and then click on Salt, right? And it sells for 1 astral sand each. All right, so the salt's finished and we're back at our base. Like I said, this is the passive way of leveling, right? So collect up the salt, and as you can see, we're getting 89 XP per stack of salt collected. It's not amazing, right? But as you can see, it'll add up over time, right? It'd be like killing 2 things in that in the level 20 zone. All right, so as you can see, we've smelted some stuff. If we pull it out of our inventory, we will get experience points for it as well. All right, so smelting steel gives us quite a bit more experience points than salt. But gathering steel is a little bit harder than gathering salt. Takes a little bit longer. So far, I've only been suggesting that you go and hunt in cities that have zombies. Well, I haven't mentioned the cities with the human enemies, right? Well, there's a reason for that. You do not want to go into the cities with the human enemies. All right, they have guns. They shoot at you. They hit you. Okay? You're going to take damage. Your armor is going to break. You're going to need to heal. All that is going to be slowdowns. If you prefer that way of fighting, and they are also going to hide from you, it just takes longer killing them than it does zombies. On top of that, zombies give you acid. Okay, this is going to be super important throughout the game. Acid is one of the biggest resources in the game. Now, as you level up, your deviations will do more damage. As you put better gear, you'll also be doing more damage. Of course, you will with more gear, but as you can see, these boars would have destroyed me with this pistol at the start. Now I can kill them with the pistol. Not amazingly, but it's still a lot better than it was doing. All right, so you've made your guns. This is also not your first playthrough, so you have mods. Take advantage of that. Equip these mods into your weapons, into your armor. Take advantage of the extra damage and stat boost they're going to give you. It's not a lot, but it's something, and every little thing counts right now. And just remember, don't destroy your mods. Make sure to take them out of your weapons before grinding them up later when you're done with those weapons. All right, so let's say you've hit 25 now, right? You've been killing in this area. You've got your better weapons. You've hit 25. Now what you're going to want to do, which, you know, I'm only 22. I've just hit this point where I'm in here, and I just got my tier 3 weapons, right? So I'm going to tell you the plan for going beyond there. I've only been on the server maybe 4 hours, right? And I've had some slowdowns because I've been making videos, things like that. So the next stage is to go, for me, is to go back in here because I just finished getting my gun stuff. Circle this, kill all these things until I'm level 25. At that point, I would, which I've already done, started doing a little bit around here, is going and getting my blueprint fragments. But for speed purposes, I'd wait till I was level 25 and then maybe cruise around and get some blueprint fragments from the different cities. Okay, until phase 1 is over, it's going to be pretty hard to push to level 50. It's going to be a grind, right? So I wouldn't worry too much about pushing beyond level 30. Right, and maybe start catching up on the main quest and hitting your monoliths. And of course, going around and getting your fragments, getting ready to get more powerful, so that once you make your tier 5 gear, you can make it as strong as possible. And one of the things I recommend for making the in-game go a lot smoother, a lot faster, is to go ahead and find a polluted, once you're high enough level, go ahead and find a polluted zone to build in and start farming your impure acid with your water pumps. All right, and just store it. Just throw out a bunch of water storage facilities and just store it until we hit phase 2. And then you'll be able to throw out a bunch of the bear barrels and really start producing acid. All right, so in less than 45 minutes, I went from level 22 to 25, and we farmed up 212 acid. So, and plus all this other stuff as well. I should have gone around and found the weapon crates too, but I was busy just... Okay, so there we go, and we got some more stuff there. So you can see we got a decent amount of loot and experience points just in a short period of time. So in the journey of leveling up as fast as possible, there's going to be a huge slowdown between levels 32 and 42. Alright, so these 10 levels are probably the hardest levels to gain in the game. The reason for that is most of these stuff you're fighting is only giving you a small amount of XP, and if you go kill the higher level stuff, you're only going to get a small amount of XP, because the game limits the amount of XP you can get from things that are higher level than you. So once you hit this slowdown, how do you get through it as quickly as possible? Well, one of the best ways to do it is commissions. So make sure you time your weekly commissions correctly. So don't miss out on them by any means. Like if your week's in the end and you still haven't reached level 32, just go ahead and do them. But you should save your first week of commissions until you hit level 32, and then go in and select 5 of them. And then on week 2, if you're still not level 50, you can come in and select them again. As you can see, you get a nice little chunk of XP from everything you do here. And also go ahead and start completing the main quest and getting all your monoliths beaten, and then start heading to silos and getting those beaten. You can get a decent amount of experience by completing the silo quest. And of course, by completing silo quest, you will also unlock extra slots in your backpack for increasing your damage even more. I wouldn't go out of my way to do quests, but if you're in your path and you can snag them along the way, some of them will take like 5 minutes to do or less, and you get 2,000 experience, which is going to be really nice at this point in time. When you're in the 40s, that will seem like nothing, because you can just kill a couple of enemies and get that. But as you can see, I got a quest here that'll give me 2,000 experience points. I need to go here and find the crates anyway and turn on the anchor so I can take on the next monolith. Alright, while this might not directly help with giving you experience points and leveling up, it will help you get a few things you need along the way, including Stardust and a little bit of the extra Star Crom. So every time you go to travel, just come into your events and hit start on this race, because you just have to repeat this race over and over again until you hit the amount of points you needed. So if you're not racing to a destination, but you're going to be traveling a distance, this is really good to do. Just come in and hit start and just travel as you go. So once you've reached about level 41, which we're about to hit level 42, you come into the Red Sands area. You can use this city. A lot of people like this one, the Blackfell Fallen Zone. I like this city here, the Evergreen, just south of Blackfell, but Blackfell's got a nice teleport point into it. It's got several elites. This one has several elites in it as well. And then I like this walk circle here, but you can do it here. And what we're going to be doing is killing enemies. Right now, you're probably going to want to avoid the elites until you can get tier 5 guns. That way you don't get one-shot. Because even these little enemies can almost one-shot you. So you got to be careful. As you notice, as we kill each enemy, we get about 220 experience. Now, of course, some enemies are worth a little less. Little spiders and stuff. So you can see, this guy would have killed me if he'd hit me probably twice, maybe 3 times. But some enemies hit harder, especially the dog creatures and, of course, the elites. If you feel confident taking on the elites, go for it, but I would avoid the elites if possible. Now, I definitely avoid the new deviations, so the ones that glow and stuff. The void and balance phase and calibration, I think is what the other one's called. I would avoid those at this level. You don't want to be. Those things are already pretty dangerous as it is. So like I can go kill this elite over here, but I have no way of freezing it. So if it kills me, I have to travel again. And the point is, the more travel time it takes, the the longer it's gonna take you to level. So getting killed also damages your gear, which means you have to repair more often. But as you can see, I'm quickly dispatching the little enemies, right? And I'm only using a tier 4 gun, no calibrations on it. And to show you some of the pricing we can get on the items that you're going to be farming, we can see here copper ingots. If you sold 1,000 of them, you get 4,000. If you sold 1,000 steel ingots, then you get 15,000. And of course, for every 100 salt, we get 100 100 energy links. So they're only worth 1 per piece of salt. You can hit S to select multiple units, and it just makes it much faster. Right? While it's not an amazing amount of energy links we're getting for the salt, it is still worth it. It's still something that's better than making like boiled water and just throwing the boiled water on the ground for getting the experience points for that. Because that just takes longer. You have to throw it one at a time. You can't hit select, throw it all on the ground. So at least we're getting something out of it besides just experience points, right? We're also able to take it and sell it, which doesn't take very long at all. Right, we've already taken half of one shop's selling limit for the week. So when it comes to getting iron for smelting, so we can sell it for energy links, because it's worth a lot of energy links, right? It's really easy and cheap to get. And for getting a lot of experience points, where I like to go, you can go anywhere you want that has iron. It's up to you. My favorite place, though, mainly because it has a teleporter, and there's so much iron there that as I walk in my loop, the iron constantly resets, and I can just go until my drill is broken. Right, it's this teleport point here, this teleportation tower at 4602 by -4283 in Iron River. You know, this is just northwest of the Highland town here. As you see, just south we have the Sigma Silo, and then here we have the refinery pollution point. Give you an idea where it is. Right, so I will show you. The another thing you can do to really get going is to to use a canned seafood and oil. And if you remember, we told you to bring advanced drills and this over from the last season. If you've had canned seafood and oil from the last season, you can technically make it at this point. Alright, so you can see we gather some ore. And it's really going there. We got 10 experience points for hitting 1 node of ore, right? So this isn't a great way to get experience points. As you can see, we're getting 14 ore per hit, and then the final one will give us a random variable, which that one was 23. Sometimes it'll be 100 and something. See, there's 108. And so here we'll get our sulfur for making gunpowder, and if you have the acid thing for getting acid. And while I'm here, I go ahead and gather up copper, because there's probably no way I'm going to fill up my inventory on iron alone. So I'll grab copper and sulfur and stuff like that, so I can process that back at the base as well, which will give me even more experience points. Good news is, once you start getting overweight, you can still roll around here and get to all this iron that's in this place all around. It's just a big circle. You just walk a big circle around the teleportation tower and collect iron like mad. It's fairly safe. There's a couple of boar, and that's about it. Now that I've farmed up this area for the entire duration of the fish oil, you can see my drill still only went down about 25%. You can see our weight is at it's 109% over yeah, so we have a whole lot of weight on us. And here we are. There's the results. That's a lot of iron. It's going to take us a while to smelt that. We'll probably be level 50 before we get that all smelted. So we hit level 50. It did take about 18 hours to complete. A lot of that was simply because I was making videos and not going super efficient. Like, I could have just done everything just for leveling, but I also went around collecting up the fragments from a lot of places and hitting the rift anchors, because that's something we're going to have to do anyway. So I figured I might as well knock some of it out of the way so I can immediately go fight the boss once I start following the quest again. So if I did this in 18 hours, not being super efficient, right, and having to go back and do some of it several more times so I can get recordings of it and stuff like that, you can definitely do this in probably 15, maybe 16 hours. And if this is your first playthrough and you're following this guide, it may take you longer, right? Because you're getting used to dodging and moving and all that, and the enemies are hitting harder, and you don't have the blueprint fragments that everybody else would have had starting out. So it'll probably take you closer to 24 hours, maybe 20. If it's your first playthrough, I don't recommend power leveling. Make sure to check out my other ones, human guys, and if you enjoyed this video, smash that like button. Have an awesome day.